The Wayside Cross. To activate the Wayside Cross, press E to start praying. Once activated, the Wayside Cross lasts for 1 minute and does damage over time in a large area to all diabolic creatures. Detection. Enemies can see and hear you. If an enemy gets too close to you, it will see you and attack. The circle around your hero on the minimap represents the sound he makes. When you move, you make more noise. An enemy will detect you if its dot on the minimap enters your circle. Certain actions like firing your rifle or shouting create a lot of noise. When an enemy hears you, a marker will appear at your feet. This marker represents the last place an enemy heard you. All enemies that heard you will go to this marker. If the enemy does not see or hear you again, he will leave the area after a short period of time, and the marker disappears. The dashed circle on your mini-map is the range of your shout. Use this ability to lure enemies under your traps. Enraged. Certain enemies have a chance of turning enraged the more you attack them. Once an enemy is enraged, it's much more aggressive and is no longer affected by your fear factor. The Spike Trap. The Spike Trap automatically triggers as soon as 3 enemies are standing on it. This icon represents the amount of enemies standing on your trap. Combat. Your health is represented by the red bar at the bottom of the screen, while your stamina is represented by the green bar. You use stamina for each attack you make. If you run out of stamina, then your attacks are slow and weak. You accumulate rage for each attack you land on an enemy. The fire on the HUD and on your axe indicates that you have some rage built up. Right-click to unleash all your rage. To evade enemy attacks, you can press the space bar to perform a dodge roll. The Ballista. The Ballista's placement is done in 2 steps. Place the Ballista where you like, then orient it with the mouse. While you're nearby, press E to use the Ballista. Left-click to fire the Ballista. Firewalls. Use firewalls to block paths in the forest, forcing enemies to take an alternate route. If you block every available path with firewalls, enemies will sacrifice some health and go through the walls anyways. If one enemy does this, it breaks the wall, allowing others through unharmed. Action points. It costs action points every time you place a trap. The amount of action points a trap costs to place is shown in the trap info, which appears when leaving your cursor over the icon. Some traps also cost money. To remove a trap, click on the Trap Removal tool, then select the trap. To remove all your traps, click on the Remove All tool, then Confirm. Traps disappear after 1 night, except those that cost money, which stay until used. The Explosive Barrel. You can set off an explosive barrel by shooting it. You can also walk up to it and light the fuse by pressing E. The Sacred Tree. To charge the Sacred Tree, you must perform a magical tribal dance. This icon shows how many charges are remaining. The sacred tree will automatically attack nearby enemies until its charges run out. The sacred tree is particularly effective against mythical creatures. Bait. Bait will delay the enemies who eat it. This icon shows how much time is left before the bait is finished. The more enemies there are eating it, the faster it will finish. Omens. The Omen cards represent Josephine's visions, and they help you plan your defense for the coming night. This shows the type of enemy that will attack. Leaving your cursor over a card will show you a lot of information about that enemy type. This is the number of enemies that will attack from this area. The attacking order of the Omen cards depends on what wave they belong to. During the night, a new wave will not attack until the previous wave has been defeated. You can choose which waves you see on the map with the filters on the right side of the screen. The last icon on the card represents what their target is for the night. In this case, it's your house. If you click on a card, you'll see the enemy's path to their target. Plan your strategy with the help of these Omen cards. Pack management. When you attack multiple enemies at the same time, your chances for survival drop. So it's important to know how to intimidate your enemies to space out their attacks. There are 2 ways to intimidate your enemies. First, every time an enemy takes damage, its fear factor decreases. Second, the icon at the bottom of the screen is one of your special abilities, the intimidating shout. Press the Q key to shout and intimidate your enemies. Don't forget, the distance between the 2 icons is how long you have before the next attack. Take this time to reload your gun and let your stamina recharge. Lastly, the paw symbol over an enemy's head means it's next to attack. Always pay attention to them. Chopping lumber. With access to the mill, you can now cut lumber for the W. Hood Company. Just click on the button to chop wood. Each time you chop wood, you receive money for your effort in exchange for action points. Action points that are lost this way are represented by the orange part of the gauge. Wind. Always keep the wind's direction in mind when you're planning out your strategies. Enemies not only detect you by the noise you make, they can also track your scent. Your scent carried by the wind is shown as a cone on your minimap. Enemies that smell you will start to track you. Enemies will not stop tracking you as long as they can smell you. Watchtowers. Placed in pairs, the watchtowers come equipped with a zip line, allowing you to travel quickly from one to the other. To get on top of a watchtower, press E. To use the zip line, walk up to it and press E. If you happen to be detected on top of a watchtower, your enemies will try to destroy it. The Egg of Metshu. You now possess a very powerful magical artifact that allows you to control the direction of wind itself, the Egg of Metshu. To use the amulet, simply use the item from your pack by pressing the corresponding number. Use your mouse to orient the wind in whatever direction you wish. Once the wind is in its desired direction, simply move your hero to break your control over it. The Wolf Trap. You can walk over your wolf trap without worry. You won't set it off. A wolf trap will automatically activate when an enemy walks over it. Bonfires. To light a bonfire, press E while close by. If you're standing near a lit bonfire, it will significantly increase your fear factor. If you move too far away, you lose the bonus. This icon shows how much time is left before the bonfire goes out. The hanging net. The number above the net represents the amount of enemies underneath your trap. All you have to do is aim and shoot the net to bring it down on your enemies. The rifle. To reload your rifle, hold down the Control key. To reload faster, click the right mouse button repeatedly. This icon appears when your rifle is loaded. Your crosshair will be red if you have no target, or if your target is out of range. It will be yellow if you're auto-locked onto an enemy. If you aim carefully for the head, the crosshair will turn green, and you can make a headshot, causing maximum damage. Left click to fire. The amount of ammo you have remaining is shown at the bottom left of the screen. Fear factor. When you're in combat, the fear factor meter appears at the bottom of the screen. This meter represents the time you have before your enemy's next attack. The more your enemies fear you, the greater the distance between both icons and the more time you have before the next attack. However, enemies aren't as afraid of you with each passing second, in which case the icons start to get closer. When your enemy's fear factor is equal to yours, the icons touch and your enemies attack. If you're running low on stamina, it's better to keep your distance and let it recharge. Be careful though, even if you have a higher fear factor, enemies will still attack you if you're too close. The mortar. The mortar's placement is done in 2 steps. Place the mortar wherever you like, then position where you want the mortar to strike. While you're nearby, press E to use the mortar. Left click to fire the mortar.